There's this unique, weird moment that every coach hits where things just stop making sense. Like you're doing more than ever before, but you're seeing less. Like content isn't landing, clients aren't converting the way that they used to, and growth just feels painfully slow. And I remember very vividly, there was a stage where everything looked good on paper. Cash flow was growing, clients were getting great results, but growth overall just felt painfully slow. And it's almost like you're on a treadmill and you're running and you're getting that dopamine rush of feeling like you're getting progress. But the truth is, and the reality is obviously just standing still. You're getting that dopamine of feeling like you're progressing, but you're not really achieving that. And if you're watching this today, I don't want you to think that you're broken. But the truth is, and what I've found, is that you've actually outgrown beliefs that no longer serve you. And so once you see those beliefs clearly, everything starts to move easier and with more flow again. So in this video, I want to share with you the 5 myths that consistently keep even the best coaches stuck. Because the truth is, our brains and our bodies, we're a belief factory. We believe things and we constantly reinforce them by our actions and the way that we live our lives. When the truth is, when you actually build your business around a set of standards or beliefs that you've shifted, everything changes around that. I love this quote by Mark Andreessen I want to read before we begin, where it says, "The world's a very malleable place. If you know what you want and you go with maximum energy, drive, and passion, the world will often reconfigure itself around what you want much more quickly and easily than you would think." So before we talk about strategies or systems, let's talk about the 5 beliefs and 5 myths that keeping coaches stuck.
Okay, I've got my coffee. Let's get into myth number 1. Myth number 1 is if I post more, I'll attract more clients. Now, this one sounds harmless, but it's absolutely exhausting. The thought that I need to post more reels, I need to post longer captions, or I need to tweak these hooks in order to reach people. When the reality is that the emotion driving this oftentimes is scarcity or fear. The fear that if I miss a day of posting or I miss a week of posting, then I'm not gonna be able to reach the right people, or you're not gonna be top of mind for the people that you're trying to nurture and constantly keep in front of. Whereas I want you to take a step back for a moment and realize that volume actually doesn't create resonance. The volume or the amount of content that you're posting isn't going to create resonance, clarity is. And the more you can dial in your messaging to speak clearly and succinctly to the right people, the more you'll have more people being attracted to your offer. And that's the thing, a number of my clients, they post around 3 times a week on Instagram and 1 video a week on YouTube, and they're attracting incredibly resonant high-ticket clients. They're incredibly qualified for their offer. Now, I'm not saying those are the magic numbers for posting on Instagram and YouTube, but what I am saying is that you can get off the hamster wheel of content of feeling like I have to constantly post all the time, but actually being clearer with what it is that you're saying. And that's the thing, you can't outpost misalignment, right? Like if you're feeling unaligned and you're feeling like you're constantly just having to prove yourself and really put yourself out there, then the more is this that we're going to show up in your content and in your energy. So I'd encourage you today to take a step back and realize the clearer content will cut through far better than the volume of content that you're posting. Okay, myth number 2 is I need a bigger audience. And this keeps so many coaches in a loop of just feeling like they're just not enough. Like if I reach 10K followers on Instagram, then I'll be able to reach more high ticket clients. Or if I reach 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, then I'll be able to reach more people that are qualified for my offer. When the reality is that's actually just not how it works. You don't need a large audience, you actually need an aligned audience. Like I have a client right now who has less than 500 followers on Instagram, and they're on a 25K per month run rate with their coaching business. And the truth is they're focused on building an aligned audience, and more specifically speaking to those specific milestones that the people that ultimately are qualified for the offer are going through, as opposed to thinking I just need a large audience for status or positioning, when the truth of the matter is people are just looking for people that can solve their niche problems and be able to speak specifically to their situation, as opposed to producing broad content that increases your audience size, but actually reduces the potency and the resonance of your message. So if you're here today and maybe you might even have a really large audience, I'd encourage you not to be thinking about how can I make the broader set of content, but rather how can I create the most resonant piece of content? How can I speak more specifically to the kind of people that would be qualified for my offer? And not being afraid to do that, because sometimes the temptation is to please everyone. When the truth is, when you're trying to produce content and be able to sell your high ticket offer, you need to be able to speak specifically to the right people for that. So you don't need a bigger audience, you just need an aligned audience. Myth number 3 is high ticket clients are harder to attract. Now, I remember this moment earlier on when I lifted my prices and I had this little moment where I thought, you know what, I feel like it's going to be harder to attract clients at this point. When the truth is the opposite actually became true. It was easier to attract high ticket clients because the truth is that people aren't buying into price, they're buying into certainty. And your ability to be able to position that in the right way is incredibly crucial. The most common mistake I see is coaches and consultants are undercharging and underselling themselves because oftentimes you're most familiar with yourself and your skill set. And so what you do is you discount your ability to be able to solve people's problems when you have all of these case studies and all this proof behind you that you actually are able to solve high ticket problems for high ticket situations. And so the truth is that the more you lift your prices, the right people actually become more qualified for the thing that you're offering. And so I'd encourage you to back yourself more and actually form the belief that high ticket clients are so much easier to attract when you actually back yourself, when you actually show up with certainty, because they're buying that certainty, they're buying that clarity and the ability for you to be able to solve their problems with conviction and also with results. Myth number 4 is if my content looked better, then I'd attract better clients. Like we've all done it before. You've opened up Instagram, you thought to yourself, you know what, if my content looked like that, then I'd attract better quality clients. When the truth is that's just simply not how trust works. People don't buy your lighting setup, they buy you and who you are and the clarity that you can offer to their situation. Like I've seen guys with $5,000 camera rigs completely get ignored, whereas others are just filming on their iPhone in their kitchen, building 6 to 7 figure coaching businesses. And this is the raw reality, is that clarity cuts through far more than polish ever will. The ability to speak clearly and succinctly into your clients' lives. And that's the crazy thing, is that authenticity isn't a lighting preset, it's conviction in motion. So yes, improve the quality of your content. Like quality is one of the best pattern interrupts. However, at the end of the day, a message that moves people will always outperform a message that merely looks good on the outside. So before you polish the noise, clarify the signal, your ability to speak clearly and succinctly into your dream client situation. And at the end of the day, people aren't looking for polish, they're looking for conviction. Myth number 5 is I just need one more strategy. Now, this one's the sneakiest because you feel like you're being the most productive, right? Like watching one more YouTube video or reading one more email or bookmarking or saving one more post because you feel like you might come back to it later. When the reality is oftentimes it's just that search for the next best thing or the next newest thing or the next shiny object. And every time we keep consuming more and more content before taking action, we're reinforcing an old belief that currently what I already know isn't enough. That what I know already at this point doesn't give me the clarity in order to make the decision to just build it. And I've seen some incredibly smart people get caught up in overthinking and overconsumption when all they need to do is just make a decision, the line in the sand that, you know what, I'm just going to build it. And it keeps so many people stuck. Overconsumption is like the modern day form of procrastination. The need to constantly look for more, the need to constantly consume more. When the reality is the floodgates have opened with information. The information is everywhere thanks to AI. But the difference for you is the ability to make the decision, you know what, I've got clarity, I've got everything that I need within myself to actually just make the decision just to build it. Every one of these myths just has the same root idea, that freedom is just somewhere outside of yourself. You know, more posts, more tactics, more gear, just absolutely more everything. When what you're looking for isn't more strategy, it's actually the simplification of what you already know. And when you strip back the noise, clarity is what is left. And clarity always compounds faster than effort ever will. And scaling simply isn't the choosing between, you know, purpose and profit, but when you build a business so aligned, profit becomes the natural byproduct of that. And when you're aligned in your business and in the way in which you scale, everything starts clicking and you become magnetic to the right people. Now, if this resonated, hit subscribe and I'll see you in the next video.